Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm gonna be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was Rimuru Reincarnation, guys. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, yes, I have 3 more channels that I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. Anime King 2, Anime King 3, Anime Prince, and Anime Symbol. The links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and enjoy, guys. And also, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Maharaga Reincarnation, so go ahead and enjoy that. So without further ado, or wasting more time, let's begin this now, guys. So, the last part we left off. Because of Fukaku, disdain for Minato, having Naruto in his home, having Mikoto go against his wishes was a deep insult to him. He had no idea how Naruto pulled off what he did. However, he was going to rectify that by putting Naruto under his control. He started off with the Sharingan, as Naruto was actually losing, but the great Kurama spoke to him and told him that the only reason why he was losing was because of his own self-doubt. He had all the experience of everyone that he absorbed, their techniques, their fighting styles. It was assimilated into his very being. He was stronger, much stronger. All he needed to do was stop being afraid. Realizing that if he didn't do something that the people that he loved would die, Naruto stopped being afraid. From that moment on, a battle of epic proportion went down. Luckily, Fukaku had placed up the seals, expecting Naruto to put up a fight and not wanting to alert the other members, but Naruto had put all of them to sleep. Even the battle here wouldn't wait them. However, the village was another different entire reason. But the barrier would be able to stop that. It pushed Fukaku far enough for him to use his Susanoo. However, Naruto used tactics and tricks on him as he absorbed the man into his very being. He became a part of him. In that moment, Naruto dropped to his butt. In just one night, he eradicated 2 major forces of the Hidden Leaf village. And it wasn't done yet. The next morning, it was a shocking sight to see. Yes, as Naruto had placed the corpses back. After all, he had to be very careful in what he was doing. So he placed the corpses back without any life in them. But they weren't the exact corpses. Naruto could simply replicate them. A new skill that he learned, his body replication technique, and he did it perfectly. However, the village started to feel sympathy for the Uchiha clan, which was good. Given their past hate, believing that they were in control of the Nine Tails. Naruto had to watch though, as many people were mourning over the loss of their daughters, their sons, their fathers, their mothers. Even Sasuke was going through it, despite Fukaku showing little interest in the boy. He was still his father. Itachi concealed his emotions rather well. Even Mikoto was going through it despite her and Fukaku having some rather difficult times. There was still one time when they loved one another, so. However, as she gazed up and she saw Naruto looking at her, it was his eyes. They seemed so different, so empty, so cold. As time passed by, you had to look closely, but some people noticed that Naruto changed. Yes, they noticed the changes that took place with him. As Naruto and Sasuke both attend the academy, both of them scoring rather stellar on their evaluation tests. As Naruto tricked Sasuke into, well, lying for him basically. His reasons were not something that he would give Sasuke, as he didn't want him to know that he was responsible for killing his father. So he told him something else about why. He was just now revealing to them why he had these strange abilities. Sasuke played along and confirmed Naruto's story. It was Itachi that Naruto told, the one that was stepping in to take the clan and make it better. While the clan had lost a lot of its military power, they were still Uchihas and the blood run through their veins. So, yes, Itachi had stepped up though, as it was a lot more work than he realized. He spoke to Naruto that day, as he hadn't given anything else, he hadn't told anyone else. He just took the information that Naruto gave him and sat on it for a moment. However, both Naruto and Sasuke graduated from the academy, and once that happened, Mizuki decided to steal a forbidden scroll, using someone else to do so. The both of them were going to give it to Orochimaru for power. Naruto was in the forest training, something that he did, as he wanted to be as strong as possible. This is where the ruthlessness came out, showing just how much Naruto has changed, just how much the experience had changed him greatly. They both attacked him as Naruto cut down the other, before he grind Mizuki up with his silk webs, using the man's own shuriken to rip him apart, before burning their remains. That is when Naruto sensed it, as he turned his gaze watching him from a distance with a binoculars was Itachi Uchiha, as Naruto froze. And that was basically as what left off. You guys can switch across and play check of yourself. So yeah, how about we jump right into this new episode? Let's begin now, guys. Maybe it was because of the situation that the both of them were currently facing. That is why the place seemed to be so dead quiet. No animals, no insect, nothing making a sound. As Itachi Uchiha stood there, a distance away from Naruto, their gaze fixated on one another. The look that Naruto was presenting was one of confusion, fear, overall sadness. There was many in his gaze. Itachi was the first to speak though. I had my suspicions. For some time now, he said. On that day, I saw you both. I came back early to help with the shuriken training. When I saw you and Sasuke, I figured that it was best if I did not interrupt. It was a good bonding moment. I saw Sasuke release the fireball out of control. The moment I was about to intervene, I noticed that your skin pigment had changed, and you weren't feeling pain, so I stepped back. I watched. Your mind seemed to go through 1,000 thoughts in a second, just from the look in your eyes, and I heard everything you told Sasuke. I was simply waiting for you to come to us and tell us what is going on. However, you did not. Instead, your focus was on something else. What was going on with the Uchiha clan? With everything, I must confess that I also turned my focus to that as well, believing that if things were to become hectic, at least I know that you will be protected and you will keep Sasuke safe as well. Until that tragic day when they were killed, no one knew who was behind it, but I had my suspicions. That was until I went deeper, realizing that you've been sneaking out of the house, replacing yourself with some kind of clone that seemed to be sentient but at the same time wasn't. A similar duplication of what you did to the bodies, I presume. It wasn't revealed to the public, but after a thorough inspect, we realized that No one was killed where their body was found. Not to mention, on that same night, Danzo Shimura and his entire root operatives were wiped away. And now as I say this, looking into your eyes, you realize that there is no point of hiding it. Your expression might seem to be one of fear and confusion, but it's a deceit, trying to hold on to the last remnants of, making me believe that none of this is truthful. But I know. The moment he said that, Naruto dropped that expression as Itachi saw his real face for the first time since he awakened these powers, since he did what he did. And it wasn't like he was looking at a 12-year-old child. It was like he was looking at a veteran shinobi who had been through 3 wars and countless battles. And that could all be seen from just his eyes alone. Itachi stepped forward and Naruto did not move. As he reached down and picked up the forbidden scroll. "Let us get away from here," he said. "Anvus will search this area soon." He took to the trees as Naruto had no problem keeping up with him. Naruto was behind him as there were many thoughts running through his mind. Kurama even giving him some suggestions. He could dive in Itachi's mind and wipe the memory of what happened. However, there was a problem to that. Itachi had his suspicions for some time now, so if he wanted him to completely forget, he had to dig that part of his memory out, which would be connected to many more. It was hard, but it can be done though. It was an ability that he had recently reawakened with his continuous growth. However, as he followed behind him, Naruto didn't want to do that. Strangely enough, knowing that someone actually took this huge weight off his shoulder, despite not knowing the intentions that Itachi possessed. For some reason, he took this weight off his shoulder that has been crushing on him since the day he saw the children, since the day he saw the family members of the deceased cried at the funeral. He saw the pain and felt their anguish. Since he felt the fear that was coursing through the clan, believing that they would be next, believing that some reaper was coming for their soul. It took a while until they finally arrived, the both of them stopping. It was an old battleground, long since forgotten. However, the marking of the place was still there. There was a symbol of the Senju and beneath it a symbol of the Uchiha, showing the unity. However, this place had been forgotten. On the tree over to the side, there was markings, showing that others had been here before. 2 people, to be quite exact, had visited this place on more than one occasion. 2 friends that turned into enemies. Itachi did not face Naruto, showing the trust that he had in the boy by not even protecting his back, despite what he just found out, showing Naruto that he trusts him completely. He sat down on one of the rocky stones. Why? That was all he asked. He wanted to know why Naruto chose to take this burden on. Why he chose to burden himself like this. It was not his burden to take. It was not his pain to suffer. If you asked me the same question a few years ago before I did what I did, I would say, I did it because I loved you guys too much. You brought me into your family. You took me in, despite the others not seeing me as one of your own. You've never treated me as any less. Always treated me like I'm one of yours. And the answer will still remain that. But not only that. I've seen things. I now understand things that I could have never understood before. I understand the great rupture that a coup would have caused to the economy of Konoha. The countless life that would have been lost. It doesn't matter how civil the Uchihas would have tried to go about it. Thousands would still die in the aftermath. Because the village would not fall that easily. And I've seen with my own eyes that your father and the others that were committed to his cause would have never give up until their final breath. And that man Danzo Shimura, he would have spent every waking moment trying to eradicate the Uchihas, maybe even eradicating the village in the process as well. So I didn't only do it for us, I also did it for my home as well, knowing that if it happened, there would be nothing left, and our outside enemies would seize the opportunity to wipe us on all fronts. I knew there was a possibility that either the Hokage assigned a few people to do this, or either you did it. But if the Hokage came in and did this, and if the news was to ever be leaked, if someone ever found a way to profit from this, it would lead to pure chaos in the long run. The survivors would never rest. And if he had asked you to do this, the burden of you taking this on, you couldn't just stop at the ones that wanted a coup. You would have had to erase everyone. That is what Danzo would have required you to do. To take everyone out, to not leave a single soul alive. And I think you would have done it, said Naruto. But leaving me and Sasuke to carry on your clan. For me to watch over him, for him to watch over me. For us to make the Uchiha name great once again. Because you know, I would take a greater role in being a Uchiha, despite not having the blood. Because Sasuke had nothing left, and I would be there as his brother, despite not the blood. You will have to change your mindset. You will have to bring in the darkness in order for us to hunt you and kill you. For the village to recognize us as a hero that took down the monster that killed everyone. But I couldn't stand by and watch you kill Mikoto. I couldn't allow you to kill your own father, said Naruto. So I did it. I took on the burden. And I slaughtered every single one of them that supported the coup. And I went after Danzo and eliminated him and his men. And in the end, I fought your father. He threw what he had at me. And I came out successful. He did not, said Naruto. This burden has been on my shoulders for some time now. I understand what I did and I do not regret what I did. Because it was necessary to keep the balance and to keep the people I love alive. However, walking within the village, walking within the clan, feeling the suspicion, feeling the fear that the remaining members had felt for the past couple of years. Perhaps now that fear has lessened because nothing has happened for so long. But it's still there, knowing that the power has weakened so drastically, and maybe they could not defend themselves from an assault from anywhere. Watching those that are robbed of their significant other, their loved ones. The pain has been great. I can wipe your memory. I can enter your thoughts and eradicate everything that you've learned about me. But I don't want to do that, said Naruto as he proceeded to sit down. It is now in your hands, said Naruto. Do whatever you please, he said. Despite Naruto's words, his mind was still going through thousands of scenarios. Ones where he left the village. Those where Sasuke saw him as the enemy. His mind was constantly flipping through scenarios. With the help of Kurama, his brain was able to access and understand thoughts that the human brain would not even be able to react to, as he was living thousands of lives inside of his head just through his thoughts alone. I'm sorry, Itachi said. Naruto turned and faced him. That you had to be the one to take this burden on. Time skip. Both of them stood within the Hokage's office. The place was sealed off so no one would hear what would converse inside. Hiruzen massaged his temple as Naruto told him everything. Not just the start, but the start of his abilities, everything. It has been a great mystery that has finally bring some result after all these years. Time skip. Naruto was seated within the academy, Haruka having no idea that Naruto was the one that eviscerated Mizuki on a rather brutal level. Sasuke was sitting next to him, several girls making a fuss as usual, as Naruto was calm looking through the window. A lot happened. Itachi felt like it was for the best that they brought the Hokage in on this as well. After thinking about it Itachi told him that what he did was a hindrance to him, and Itachi hated that he had to be the one to do it, but it was also a salvation for the village, because the more time that passed they weren't able to stop what was going to happen. Despite the fact that Naruto killed Danzo Shimura, a head elder, killing the Uchiha clan as well, Hiruzen swept it under the rug. However, he was more so baffled by the things that Naruto said that he could do. He had to change everything within the academy and the schedule, change in which team Naruto would be placed on, as there was only one person that could handle someone of that caliber. In terms of teaching him how to be a ninja, that was a different problem as well. From what Naruto told him, that he gained the experience and memories of those that he absorbed. There were things that Hiruzen did not know, things that Danzo were plotting, so many that Hiruzen was able to get to understand last night, to make him truly believe that Naruto actually acquired those memories, as Naruto was never supposed to know those things. Both men were truly baffled. They spoke for 5 hours straight, just hearing the things that Naruto was capable of, what he has learned over the years. It was a truly baffling experience. At first, Hiruzen didn't want Naruto to go through with being a genin. However, it would look suspicious to many, so they came up with a plan on Naruto slowly coming forward with these abilities, making himself be known as well, because Naruto did not intend to hide his abilities while they partake within the missions. Hiruzen was also concerned as well about the global threat that Naruto possessed in terms of his abilities. However, Itachi could swear on his life that Naruto would never do anything to harm this village. After all, he basically sacrificed his own sanity, the pain of knowing that he was the one that was responsible for the villagers and people that wouldn't even think twice of knowing him, allowing Hiruzen to hold on to that. When Haruka came inside, as he started to speak, he started to announce the teams after a while of congratulating them. Naruto heard his name along with Sasuke's and a girl known as Sakura Haruno. They were placed on Team 7, which was rather odd because the team wasn't exactly balanced. It seemed to be a striking team, but they seemed rather overpowered for just one team. But this was because of some last minute changes from the Hokage himself. Yes, it was. So there wasn't anything to discuss about it or anything else to change. Naruto knew who Kakashi was. After all, he knew more than many others. He knew what the man has been through. He knew everything. Speaking of knowing things, it was best if they kept this information away from everyone else, so that no one else would know. Not Mikoto, not Sasuke, not another Uchiha. So said information would be locked down between the three of them and taken to their grave, a secret that would never be broken. With Hiruzen sweeping the things under the rug, the village itself would revolt against him, knowing that he knew what Naruto did and swept it away. Or else he'd tell them the reason why Naruto did what he did would just lead to more problems that the current Uchihas could not handle. So it was best to keep it quiet. Sakura approached Naruto pretty easily. She had a crush on Sasuke, but everyone knew that Naruto was a very nice person and he was easy to talk to, so she had no problem approaching him. a smile on her face. "I guess we're gonna be on the same team," she said. She seemed rather happy about that. If she could choose anyone, she was glad that Naruto was the other person. Of course, Sasuke had to be one of them, of course. Naruto smiled at her. "Well, having one of the most intelligent girl in the class on my team sounded like a great idea to me," he said, causing Sakura to blush at his comment. Despite being used to it, she still blushed, as Naruto was someone that said things that made you feel happy about yourself on countless occasions. He always praised people for their skills. While he can be a bit selfish at times, he's a good person. Besides, Naruto said, motioning her to come close, and she did. "You're gonna be in a team with your crush. I hope you two get along." Her face turned insanely red at that, as she looked over to Sasuke, and so did Naruto. "What?" Sasuke said, causing Naruto to chuckle and Sakura hiding her face. Time skip. Kakashi Hatake had a smile on his face as he looked at his new team. Time had flew by rather quickly since meeting them and getting to know what they desired. Sakura might be a bit rough around the edges with her obsession with Sasuke, but he was sure over time she would focus more on being a kunoichi. Sasuke wanted to get vengeance for his clan. He wanted to find who did what they did. Naruto simply wanted to protect the family that he had now. It made the copy ninja happy about that, knowing about the kid history, knowing that there was many that he did not know about himself, but he was glad that the Uchihas took him in and cared for him. Kakashi himself not knowing exactly what happened with the Uchiha clan. Whoever did this, whoever caused that mass massacre, had completely disappeared. He did the bell test with the group. He was rather surprised how easily it was for them to work together. Naruto and Sasuke trust each other after all. They were brothers, despite not sharing the same blood. Sakura was more than happy to put it on the line, believing that Naruto's words would actually come true. In that moment, Kakashi saw something rather shocking. It was the way Naruto spoke. Despite being so young, he inspired the both of them. Kakashi could tell that he was holding back something. And after having a conversation with the Hokage, he sat down and had another conversation with Naruto. He was rather shocked. It seems the boy was more special than anyone thought. Mikoto also learned about this as well. Rather surprised, but happy to know how strong Naruto was. She had her lingering suspicions, but she never let them weigh her down one bit. And thus, Team 7, a team that would make history, form. Time skip. Their first C-rank mission. Sasuke was excited. Naruto seemed rather okay. Sakura was a bit nervous. However, they were going on their first C rank. The team made their way. Their client, Tazuna, given the fact that none of them has been out of the village. Well, they had no idea about Naruto, so to their perception none of them had. And Naruto was being involved by talking about it as well. Tazuna was rather secretive though. He was cagey. He was hiding something, yes. Naruto could tell that from the beginning. Having the understanding and the knowledge and the experience to know things that many people could only dream of. He knew the man was hiding something, and whatever it wasn't small. It wasn't small at all. However, they continue on with Sakura learning a lot about the different nations, things that she never knew. With that, the team continued on in the hot blistering heat until they came across a puddle. Kakashi focused on said puddle but said nothing. The moment they passed it, the demon brothers Miyaizu and Gozu erupted. Their first target was Kakashi, and they were successful. They ripped him to pieces. Everyone had a different reaction. Sasuke was shocked. Sakura was horrified. Naruto knew that Kakashi was just fine, however. His gaze focused on the enemy. Just like with Itachi and Naruto, normal personality seemed to slip away. as he seemed to become someone completely different. The demon brothers ran with their chain as Sakura jumped in front of the client. Sasuke decided to put an end to this right now by throwing a shuriken and then a kunai to pin their chain. They dislodged. One went for Sasuke and the other one went for Naruto, seeing that he was in the path. However, the moment his eyes actually looked into Naruto's, he stopped. He completely froze up. His body shook with fear. And Naruto had not done a single thing. There was a reason for that. It was the sensation, the aura. In Miyaizu's eyes, he was looking at a predator. And he was the smallest, weakest prey. As the place seemed to turn dark, Naruto became large and demonic, towering over him, smothering him with just his aura alone. He shook in fear, backing away, terrified. Naruto was using a skill, aura attack. He was able to focus his aura directly on his opponents. No one else was able to feel what was coming off of him because all of it was focused on Miyaizu, hitting him like a train over and over again, and it was smothering and overwhelming. Naruto stepped in front of him, Miyaizu not understanding the very perception of time because he was so much smothered as Naruto chopped him. Right in the back of the neck, Miyaizu, not even knowing when he appeared behind him. Naruto would have killed him, but he was supposed to be new at this in their eyes as well. Kakashi had reappeared after Gozu had dislodged from Sasuke. Sasuke actually forced him back. The years of training were paying off rather well. When both brothers were tied up, Tazuna broke down and revealed everything. The man was looking for some sort of hope that they would help him. Naruto was the one to step towards him. "You lied to us," said Naruto. The man looked rather shameful. "You saw that we were young. We look rather inexperienced and yet you lied. What if something bad had happened? What if your actions had led to one of us death? Could you have lived with that?" The question was rather strange. It wasn't really strange for the situation, but it was a way that Naruto spoke with this strange understanding of an adult. Kakashi noticed that once again as well. Tazuna was shameful. "No, I could not," he said. The truth coming out. That is when a hand placed on his shoulder. "Okay then, we will help you," said Naruto. Kakashi blinking as he had not given the authorization. "But I thought," Tazuna was confused. He thought they were going to turn back, given how they were acting. "You should be ashamed for what you did. And the fact that you are is really good. After all, some people would say, screw everything. And they simply worry about their own family, but you on the other hand, I can see that your words are not deceitful. Your words are truthful without a doubt," said Naruto, with a smile on his face. Tazuna was grateful. However, he realized that this kid was just that, a kid. Could he really convince the other man, the leader, to go along with this? Naruto turned towards Sasuke. Sasuke already had a little grin on his face, having failed to prove himself already. He couldn't wait for the next conquest. Naruto turned towards Sakura. "Hey, what do you think?" he said. She looked rather confused. "Well, if you guys are going, I'm going as well," she said. "No, don't do that," said Naruto. "What?" she asked. "You have an opinion as well. You're also our teammate. We will take your opinion in consideration. So tell me, what do you think?" said Naruto. She looked down. She didn't want to make Sasuke upset, but Naruto's words were so comforting it made her tell what her heart truly desired. "I'm scared," she said. "A moment ago I moved to protect the client, but I was so terrified. And I thought that Sensei was... I was so afraid," she said. "And I'm not sure what is going to happen, but I don't want to be a burden for you guys." It was strange. Sakura felt like she could tell Naruto anything. He had this understanding feeling just about him that she just couldn't understand. "But I want to go," she said, as she looked up to face him. "If I'm going to be stronger, I'm going to need to overcome my fear, right?" She said, feeling confident enough to let her opinion known. As Kakashi was truly and utterly amazed, he was also a bit ashamed as well, as it seems like Naruto was in charge here. Sakura wanted to prove herself. She didn't just want to be the one that was there. After all, in the past month and a half, Naruto and Sasuke has been rather close in everything. And she seemed to just be a spot filler, something that she hated. As Naruto had said something to her, Sasuke likes strong people. That was a part of it as well, but she too also wanted to provide something to this team, some sort of help. "So what do you say, Sensei? Do you think we can do this?" Naruto asked. Kakashi was aware of a few things, as all was not revealed to him, but he knew that Naruto was extremely powerful for his age. He released a heavy sigh. "Fine," he said, looking towards Tazuna. "We will continue the mission." The man was overjoyed to hear that. Time skip. As they continue on after getting off the boat, they came across a rather dense forest. The place was filled with fog all over. The fog seemed rather unnatural. Naruto knew that it was. There was another enemy lurking somewhere within the shadows. However, Naruto remained calm. Sakura and Sasuke snapped their head towards the bushes as there was movements. However, it turns out that it's just a rabbit, said Naruto, speaking before the animal escaped from his foliage. The moment Naruto saw the color, he understood what it meant. Kakashi as well. That is when the sound could be heard. "Everyone, get down!" They all dropped to the floor. Naruto could have easily deflected the weapon or destroyed it, but he did nothing. Watching as a man appeared, Kakashi stepped forward, realizing the threat. Zabuza Momochi. Zabuza tried to intimidate the team as he released the famous demonic bloodlust of his. Team 7, except for Naruto, was overwhelmed. Kakashi was fine as well. Sakura and Sasuke were having a hard time understanding how could anyone give off his presence. However, the moment Naruto laid his hand on their shoulders, it was all gone. "You guys are gonna be just fine," said Naruto. That is when they felt it. It was like a blanket, completely wrapping around their very core itself, even Tazuna as well. It simply vanished. "What the hell?" Zabuza said, confused. However, he used that moment to get in between the team. It was over, he thought. His blade already raised. Zabuza was confused as Naruto's gaze was focused directly on him. That was impossible. How could this brat predict his movements? And what the hell was up with those eyes? Zabuza said, feeling a tingle run down his spine. Luckily though, Kakashi interjected as Naruto had calculated the distance between them. His mind working like a machine after all, with Kurama constantly speaking in his mind, allowing him to do at least 1,000 things at one time. Naruto calculated the distance and knew that Kakashi would reach with the speed that he showed so far. So it wasn't hard to just stand back and watch. The problem was Kakashi got captured underwater by a water prison. Zabuza with a smirk on his face, believing that it was over as he created a clone. Kakashi feared their life, despite Naruto said to be stronger than your average genin. He feared what would happen, having no idea just how truly powerful Naruto was. So he told them to run away. But when the Zabuza clone went forward, Naruto turned to Sasuke, who ran through hand sign. His words were soft, and yet Sasuke heard them carefully and perfectly. Releasing a massive fireball, the best that he could, raging towards Zabuza. Well, the clone that is. Naruto then manipulated the wind around it, Sakura watching with amazement as she could see the vibrations around his hand. The ear itself was quaking as she could see it. The fireball jutsu changed direction and split apart. It consumed the clone like it was nothing, eradicating it. Even Zabuza was shocked. What the hell kind of technique was that? However, that is when he heard a sound. Perhaps you shouldn't hold back so much. Well, I can understand you haven't been a team leader in some time. 4 kids. Remember, you're no longer just any ninja. You're a Jonin sensei, said Naruto. Even Kakashi was surprised as Naruto was in front of him. Yes, he was. Zabuza, eyes widened as he looked down. What the hell? He thought. He swung his blade towards Naruto. However, Naruto raised his hand towards the water bubble instead. Zabuza's blade stopped in mid-air as it hit something hard. The moment his blade struck it, he saw it was some kind of barrier. The water around Kakashi fizzled before it turned into gas, disappearing like it was nothing. Kakashi was now free as Zabuza jumped away. I take it you can handle the rest, said Naruto. Kakashi nodded as he moved back. Zabuza himself wondering what the hell. Who the hell is that brat? He had to voice his opinion. Someone I've severely underestimated, Kakashi said. But that isn't important anymore. Sensei is gonna be just fine now, said Naruto. Sakura blinked and so did Sasuke. Wait, how did you... Sakura was confused. Sasuke, though, was fuming. It wasn't much jealousy though, but the rival inside of him. How the hell did you get so much more faster, he said. Naruto chuckled. I guess I'm just awesome, he said. Sasuke was fuming even more. The battle quickly turned into Kakashi's favor. So you finally show yourself, said Naruto as he watched the Hunter Nin took Zabuza out. Naruto knew that the Hunter Nin was there watching carefully, trying to suppress his or her chakra. However, there was a reason why he said nothing or did nothing as Kakashi believed Zabuza was dead at first. He would find that out later though. If Zabuza was still in action, Gato would not hire anyone else and bring forward any new surprise. Naruto's mind was thinking through all the scenarios, so he allowed them to live. Kakashi on the other hand collapsed. Kazuna having the body, he was able to lift the man as they got to the house where they met his lovely daughter. It was there that Kakashi revealed that Zabuza was still alive. And in order to fight what is going to come, they would have to get stronger. He was going to train all of them, increasing their overall training. Sasuke and Naruto was far above Sakura, the both of them already knowing the tree walking exercise. Naruto could already walk in water. Sasuke was going to get there very close. After all, they received early training within their life. However, surprisingly, Sakura had excellent control, which allowed her to do the tree walking pretty easily. So Kakashi could focus on more endurance training and upping her chakra reserves, while Sasuke had to overcome the water walking to move on to the next step. As for Naruto, Kakashi sat down with him to truly understand just how many things that he did not know about Naruto, just how much that he underestimated him. While Naruto did not reveal everything, he revealed enough for Kakashi to be dumbstruck at what he saw. That a genin could pull off. It shouldn't even be anywhere possible. He was truly shocked and surprised, now realizing even if he was out of commission, the members would be just fine. That was until their night, where Inari blew up at all of them. He was angry. The young child had everything stripped away from him. That is how he saw it. The person that he looked up to the most. No one said anything, even Naruto was quiet, allowing the child to vent until he was over. Hoarse with rage, his fist clenched, despite the horrendous things that he said. In anger, Naruto still smiled at him. Why exactly do you think your grandfather hired us? We're here to make sure that Gato is no longer a threat. Even Tsunami was rather shocked. It was a presence that Naruto gave off. They didn't understand what it was, but it made you feel like you want to believe in him. Iniru was so overwhelmed with this he ran away. Luckily, Kakashi spoke to him that night. He understood the boy's suffering. He himself had seen this a lot, but giving up was a really stupid idea. As for Naruto, venturing to these parts, he saw something earlier when he was arriving, and he decided to head towards the location. Kakashi was rather fine knowing that Naruto would be fine. Naruto found them, the herbs, his hand turning into a slime as he absorbed them. Soon after, Naruto had a vial with liquid inside. As he was able to break apart the molecules, changing it, he was able to create crystals, which he used for the vial, using some of his own essence along with a bit of magical energy. He created a vial of restorative potion. He believed that this would do well for the other teams of Konoha, having a few senseis collect and carry a few of them on missions. As Naruto collected as much as he could, he needed to also reproduce them as well. The quality that they came from this place, it was truly remarkable. However, he was interrupted by none other than the apprentice of Zabuza. It was the same sensation. Naruto had the skill, identification. He was able to know a person from the essence that they gave off, the energy that surrounded them. Naruto watched as she came over towards him, given his or her physical form. As Naruto's eye was able to assess things that the normal eye could not see. This person was wearing chest bindings, something to prevent people from knowing that she was a girl. Given the kind of work that she does, Naruto wasn't that surprised, as most people in this world tend to believe that women are weak, despite knowing that one of the physically strongest person in this world was a woman. Her name was Senju Tsunade. Naruto watched as she came over towards him. She greeted him with a smile, even introducing herself as Haku, as he introduced himself back and they shook hands. He asked why she was here. "Oh, I'm looking for these herbs to help my friend," she said. "You mean Zabuza," said Naruto. Haku froze up, immediately going on guard. However, something strange which she couldn't understand happened. She was looking at him and yet he stood beside her. Confusion marred her face. It was just like when he crossed the distance and appeared in front of the water bubble. "There's no need to be afraid or angry. I'm not going to kill you," said Naruto. "I just want to know something, so don't do anything stupid," Naruto said. His words were calm, and yet Haku felt like she was talking to a wolf in sheep clothing. This person seemed relaxed and calm, but there was just something ferocious, something violent about this person that she couldn't understand. "Why would you work for someone like that?" said Naruto. Haku though decided to attack, lashing out her right hand, but Naruto grabbed her wrist. She threw her left hand out as it was a feint, while her leg raised. Her left hand was holding senbons that she threw at the same time. But the next moment she found herself on her back. "Predatory chains," Naruto said. Golden chains wrapped around her body and suspended her. Naruto then walked as she was being carried. She tried to move, she tried to wiggle out, but her hands and legs were bound. As Naruto was so calm and nonchalant about it, he sat under the tree as she was forced to sit beside him. "Let me go," she said, trying to escape, but it was a waste of time. "Trust me, You can't break those, said Naruto. Now tell me, why are you working for him? Haku refused to speak, just trying to work on getting free, but she seemed to give up after a while. Naruto felt the shift in her personality. It was her very emotion. Go ahead and kill me, she said, because I will never give you anything that will hurt Zabuza-sama. Do you love him? Naruto said. I'm a boy, she said. You say that, but I see otherwise. You're a girl pretending to be a boy. I understand though. Given how this world is, there's a lot of horrible people out there. Given your gender, that can be used to weaken you, despite how powerful you seem to be. Just who are you? Haku said. Someone that is trying to understand why someone so pure is working for something so dark. She did not speak, as Naruto was quiet, showing how patient he could be. There was many other ways he could extract the information, but he did not feel like doing any of those. Are you not going to end my life? Haku said, knowing that there was no way she could escape, but there was no way that she would give up Zabuza. No, I'll just wait. He's the only one that was there for me when I had nothing, Haku said. It was already over for her. Why not tell her story? She told Naruto why. Her loyalty was never going to break. To make him understand that it didn't matter if they tortured her for years, she would never say a word. So he took you in after everything, and since then you've been indebted to him, Naruto said. So you don't believe that you deserve your own life? I am nothing but Zabuza-sama's faithful tool, she said. How sad, said Naruto. For you to only see yourself as some sort of weapon, a tool that never gets its own life. I've devoted my life to Zabuza-sama, and that will not change. I understand that. I understand your loyalty, but that doesn't make you expendable, said Naruto. If you did the same for me, I would never see you as nothing but property. It is just how the world is, she said. I had nothing, and he's my precious person. So, he's now my everything. That is why you can never break me. The chains shatter, freeing Haku. She looked at Naruto perplexed. Why? She said confused. As Naruto held her basket up to her, the herbs that she needed was inside. Why are you doing this? Do you think I'll feel sympathy to relay to you my master's information? Of course not, said Naruto. I want nothing for my actions. I'm not going to kill you because you don't deserve it. You know, I know that I just know you, but I think more than most people I've met, you understand me. Maybe it's because the way you think. Some people might see me as a good person, but I highly doubt that I'm one. The things that I would do, the things that I would simply think of just to protect the people I love. People would call me a monster. The people I would slaughter, the nations I would burn, said Naruto, to protect the people I care about. So, all I can say is, I'm rather selfish. Why should I condemn you for something that I do myself? I have no reason to kill you, because you're not a threat to me. Neither is Zabuza, said Naruto as he walked away. Haku felt happy but also insulted. As Naruto left, not even looking back, someone had to stay behind just in case Gato sent these thugs here to use Tazuna family against him, and Naruto was generous enough to offer to be that person. As the others made their way, Iniri started to come around. While not mostly talkative, the boy was different. Naruto words and Kakashi words seemed to change him a bit. Naruto saw the thugs heading their way, but he did not react. even when they grabbed Tsunami, knowing that it would be easy to disarm them. He wanted to see something. Inieri decided that his life wasn't worth anything if he could not protect his own mother, and he ran headfirst into death. Despite knowing yes, he would die. That made Naruto smile. Inieri was stopped by Naruto. As Naruto held him by the shoulder, Inieri was confused because in his eyes he could not see Naruto transition at all. You told me that there was no such things as heroes, but knowing that you could not survive despite knowing that they were going to end your life and yet you ran headfirst into danger. If that doesn't make you a hero, I don't know what does, said Naruto. But my mom, he said. Don't worry. She's just fine, said Naruto. Inieri looked over as he saw his mother, unconscious, knocked unconscious by one of the thugs, resting against the wall. He ran over to her. He looked around. Where did they go? Don't worry. I took care of them, Naruto said. Now, to help your grandfather and the others. Wait. Naruto paused. Is all of this really gonna be over? Well, it is. If you believe in me, said Naruto. Inieri had tears in his eyes. For the first time in a long while, that thing that he thought he lost, hope, was actually returning back to him. As Naruto took off, Inieri decided that it was time for his people to stop. Stop running and start fighting back. Time skip. Sakura was worried as she was by the client's side as Sasuke was stuck inside. That is when she felt something whip past her. As she saw him before he entered in the dome, a smile graced her features. Meanwhile, Haku descended upon Sasuke with countless senbons. However, as Sasuke worried about the outcome of what this would entail, nothing hit him. Sorry I'm late, Naruto said, holding every single senbon in his hand as he crushed them into dust. Better late than never, Sasuke said. Naruto caught him as he collapsed down to one knee. You're not looking so good, Naruto said. Huh, doesn't matter, Sasuke said, looking at Naruto with his awakened Sharingan. Naruto looked at him. Well, it seems someone has finally achieved the Sharingan. Awaken. Yeah, I have. And I can do this on my own, Sasuke said. I'm more than powerful now. Fine, go ahead. Sasuke was struggling to walk, as the needles were a big problem as Naruto found it amusing. Haku, believing that this was the best opportunity, despite aiming at Naruto's blind side, he deflected all of them with his bare hand. Haku was confused as his skin seemed to turn into steel. However, Naruto turned his gaze towards the opposite mirror that Haku was not in, and held his hand out towards it. Flames gathered around his hand without hand signs. A violent eruption reduced all the mirrors on that side to nothing. Naruto lifted Sasuke up. Sasuke wasn't in agreement of this though, but Naruto ignored him and brought him to Sakura. Here, he said as he tossed her a vial. Give that to him. I'll handle the rest, you've done enough. Sasuke wanted to intervene, but Naruto was already gone. Damn it, he said, as Sakura gave him the vial, which he drank. He trusted Naruto completely as he got to his feet. His wounds, all of the puncture marks as the needles, they pushed out of his body. Haku restructured the dome. Is this how it's going to end, said Naruto. I'm afraid it is, because I will not stop, Haku said. And this is where I stop you. Naruto looked around as he was surrounded on all angles. Fine. Try your best, Naruto said. Haku descended needles upon him like a raging fury. However, Naruto augmented himself. His speed, strength. Naruto kicked off the ground, leaving a footprint. His first fist broke through the mirror, shocking Haku. Naruto was zipping around. He was moving so fast that it seems like he was in 5 places at once. Haku was speechless. When Naruto landed back, only a few mirrors remained. Seeing the opportunity, Haku ran from the closest one and attacked Naruto head on. That is where their hands clashed, showing a dexterity that Haku could not even believe Naruto overpowered her in every sense of the word. Skill, speed, strength. However, Naruto's fists were brutal. The first one that got through shattered her mask. The second one had her sailing. The third had her crashing down. Naruto's fists were slamming hard. Haku staggered back, her mind a daze as Naruto appeared and thrust his hand in her chest. She was launched as she bounced off the bridge, crashing down. Naruto walked up towards her as she forcefully got to her feet, blood dripping from her mouth. "You are strong. Much stronger than I thought," she said. Her hair binding coming loose, showing that it was more longer than it originally shown. "You didn't want to kill me before, but it doesn't matter. I failed. I'm nothing but a broken tool now," she said. That is when she heard it. So did Naruto, given the proximity. A smile graced her features. Maybe my life is still worth something. Perhaps, in another life. Given how we see each other, given how we understand each other, we could have been friends. Using the last remainder of her chakra, Haku went through a portal. It was a mirror that she created. However, at the same moment Naruto took off, Kakashi was about to plunge his lightning blade in Zabuza's chest, the massive bulldogs biting Zabuza. His body was leaking blood as he was weak. He couldn't even move, he was about to die. That is when Haku arrived. Even Zabuza looked rather shocked. As Haku arrived right there and then, the dogs, the summoning was up as they poofed away. Kakashi could not stop himself. However, Naruto appeared between them. He held his hand out to Kakashi's technique. Kakashi was shocked as all the energy left his hand, allowing his hand to simply hit Naruto, which was unaffected. As for Naruto, he grabbed Haku by the throat and threw her as she slammed into the railing. That was critical enough to knock her down, already being weak from Naruto punches. Zabuza saw the opportunity and tried to slice Naruto down. He brought the blade swinging towards Naruto's head, intending to end his life. As he was about to cut through him and Kakashi at once, Naruto was curious though. Silk escaped his hand as he put Haku in front of him. Zabuza hesitated but still continued on. Naruto was shocked. He held his hand out and grabbed the blade, his hand changing into a tough exterior. He pulled the blade from Zabuza's grip, surprising the man as he threw it away. Naruto released Haku that crumbled to the ground wrapped up in silk. "How could you?" said Naruto. He backhanded the man as he slammed into the railing, coughing up blood. "How could you cut right through her?" Naruto asked. "Despite everything that she's done for you." "You know nothing, brat," he said, trying to get up. "Haku is a tool to serve me, nothing more." "Is that so? So you're willing to kill her without a second thought, even after what you two have been through?" "And I thought I was heartless," Naruto thought to himself slightly, as he looked at the man. "You look down at that person down there, knowing that she's someone that you rose. Someone that could literally be your own daughter, to how much time you spend together. Someone that has watched your back, someone that has risked everything for you, someone that was willing to throw her life away, and yet, given the opportunity prevented itself, you would have cut right through her without a second thought." I heard that you were a demon, but this is truly ruthless, heartless, wicked, Naruto said as he grabbed Zabuza by the throat. No, don't hurt him, Haku said. Do you hear that? Said Naruto. Despite what you've said, despite what you almost did, she still loves you. Willing to do whatever it takes despite the fact that you've robbed her entire life away. You know that. She was emotionally broken and yet you allowed her to lash on to you. Knowing that she would have nothing in her life. She will never have a life as long as you're alive. Because she sees you as a person that she has to give her life to. And yet you use that every single day against her. This poor defenseless girl that doesn't want to hurt anyone. Her attacks were always aimed to incapacitate, never to kill. How can you see someone like this, knowing what you are, knowing what this world is, and yet do that to them? While the world is broken, have you fallen so far that there is nothing to be recovered? Naruto asks. Every single word was slamming at Zabuza's heart. As he looked at the beaten Haku on the ground, his face shadowed as Naruto continued on his words, hitting Zabuza like a wave. However, Gato interrupted, and he wasn't alone. What the hell are you doing here? Zabuza said, clearing his throat as he spoke. You disappoint me, Zabuza. I expected more, but all you've brought me is nothing but disappointment. So I figured that I'll finish the job myself, he said, as he showed the men that were behind him, all of them. Zabuza looked towards him, and looked towards Haku, and looked towards the state that he was in. Gato was about to let them all loose on them, to cut them down. However, Zabuza seemed to be going through an emotional withdrawal. I guess you're right, brat. I guess I'm just standing in the way right now. After all, in a short amount of time, Haku would be stronger than me. He couldn't lift his arms. They were all messed up from the bites. He ripped the bandage off his mouth, tearing it with his teeth. Hey kid, do me a favor. Watch over Haku for me. Wait, Zabuza-sama, you can't. You're tired. You will die. Release me. I need to help him. No. My final order to you, as your master, and you as my tool, is to live your life. Zabuza was different. Haku could see it. The kid is right. I've taken enough away from you. However, somehow you found someone that met you in this short amount of time in order to cure this much. And I've shown to willing to go to extreme levels to get what I want, even to go through you. This is the path that I will cut the straw, he said. I told you before that one day we will separate paths. But this will be on my terms. For you not to be haunted by the same threats that haunt me. Knowing that Haku's life was constantly in danger because of the threat that the Mizukage posed, with him being a missing ninja. No, Haku said, tears in her eyes. Don't let her go, Zabuza said. He was speaking to Naruto, despite Haku begging him. And watch over her, otherwise I'll come from the grave as a real demon, and I'll rip your soul apart, he said. You have my word, said Naruto. Besides, I thought she was too good for you in the first place. It will be a while, said Naruto, but I will allow her to live her life. They were speaking like Haku wasn't there, which angered her as she tried to get free, but Naruto wouldn't allow it. Do me one last favor. Hand me a kunai, he said. Naruto thrust the weapon towards him as he caught it in his mouth. As namesake, he moved like a demon, eradicating everything in his path until he finally reached his target as he plunged the weapon through Gato's chest, knocking him off the bridge. He was covered with weapons sticking out of his back. He dropped to one knee, but Naruto appeared beside him. As Naruto helped him to the other path, none of the thugs made a move, too afraid. Despite their numbers being reduced, they were still a lot. Haku was full on crying as Naruto lay Zabuza after removing the weapons beside her. I'm sorry, he said, struggling to talk. You can still make a life for yourself. Mine is already cursed, he said. Don't be soured on my department. Even in his final moments, he struggled to show that loving emotion. But he did. It was his final words to her, and those truly broke her tears. Kakashi was truly astonished to what he just witnessed. However, it wasn't over just yet. Naruto put Haku to sleep, as the very silk itself. The gas came through the very silk in his hand. Naruto picked Haku up as a clone appeared as he handed the clone over Haku. The thugs on the other hand wanted to still fight. When they looked up though, they saw Iniri and the others arriving, but they still believed they could take them because of their numbers. That is when Naruto stepped forward, his hair fluttering in the wind, his clothing fluttering as well. Naruto held his hand out, both of them, as energy swirled in his hand and palm. Divine Inferno, said Naruto. The energy turned into flames. It swept across the bridge. The thugs ran for their life, but the flames were much faster. Those that were able to survive dived into the water. The others, their screams only lasted for a second before they were erased from reality. Kakashi was astonished, shocked he was, as he looked at Naruto as Naruto meted him with his gaze. And Kakashi wasn't looking at a child, he was looking at a man. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, and do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off now. See you guys soon. Peace.